Hey. Hey again. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Adi, and I'm going to be the moderator for this great session we have in front of us. So basically today I'm really excited and thrilled to have three incredible customer success leaders here with us. They are the winners of the most creative customer success list of 2024, basically meaning that they did some really cool, innovative, creative CS stuff during 2023 that made true impact on their companies. Raman, Sonam, and Emily's stories demonstrated amazing stats. This is why we wanted to invite them to dive even deeper into their stories. The idea behind this webinar is to give you actionable tactics that you can start mimic, hopefully during even Q1 for 2024. So to any one of you who doesn't know Everafter yet, we are a no-code B2B customer interface platform in which you can create actionable and collaborative workspaces for every touch point in your customer journey, every segment, every persona. Basically, we support a bunch of use cases. As for the basics, our webinars are conversational. The chat is open. Feel free to drop questions whenever you have one during. We will answer them throughout. This is also for you, panelists. If you see a question you want to take, just feel free to take it. The recording will be shared after. That's that, I think, with dry details. So let's kick things off with a short round of introduction. So first off, we have Raman, Director of Customer Success at Haptik. Raman, can you give us a few lines about yourself? Hi.
Hi, Adi, and hi to the panelists and everyone who has joined this webinar. As mentioned, my name is Raman Bindra, and I'm having over a decade of experience in customer success and account management. I've seen this particular function evolve from just being a glorified support to now a very critical function in every organization. Have been, building processes from scratch and trying to maintain long-lasting relationships with my customers. I've been working at Haptik as a director of customer success. And just a bit about Haptik, it helps enterprise customers manage customer life cycles with generative AI-powered conversational CRM, which helps streamlining support, boost marketing, and fire up your sales. So yeah, that's about me.
Cool, thank you, Raman. Sonam, hi, Director of Customer Operation at Gong. Hi.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining. I have been at Gong for a little over 4 years and was the first person in CS Ops to join and have since been building out a team that's really focused on all the programs, the processes, data analytics, tech stack, and strategic initiatives, everything that it takes to enable our post-sales organization to deliver value and create raving fans in our customer base. So really excited to be here and share a bit more about my story.
Yay, thank you. Hey, Emily, Lead Customer Success at DocuSign.
Hi, Eddie. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here, and thank you to everyone for joining today. I'm in the presence of greatness with my fellow panelists too, so I'm excited to be here. I've had over 15 years experience in the SaaS business, in customer success specifically, and account management, just like Raman. I have been everything from a leader to a individual contributor in different organizations. And I think to Raman's point, like CS has changed so much. When I first entered the business, it was very much a fire drill situation. Every customer got a customer success manager. Every angry customer got a customer success manager. And now we're obviously, we've scaled and we've developed processes, we've operationalized. It's so much fun to be where we are, almost 15 years later. I'm at DocuSign now. I've been at DocuSign for 3.5 years, joined during the pandemic. And DocuSign is one of the leading e-sign applications in the world. We have a lot of customers. We have, over 1 billion customers. And one of my favorite things about DocuSign is not just the digitization of signatures, but is really the environmental impact that we have truly as well. So we get to have that sustainability element as well. But happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I just have to say that we already have one question, and it's not an easy one in the Q&A, but I'm going to wait a little bit, at least like with one, like the intro where you tell your stories a little bit, and then it will give more context to your answers. So high overview, just to kick things off. I want each one of you to give us a short overview, just a few lines about your creative story, and most importantly, the business KPIs it helped to improve. And why don't we start with Emily now?
All right, sounds good. I'll keep it brief because you know me, Adi, I love to talk. My story ultimately revolves around transforming a very risky client relationship for a high level customer, blue chip client, into a success through truly just proactive engagement. I think, you know, the big thing was involving the customer in co-creating their solution. The initiative that I worked on was significantly impacted key KPIs, which ultimately put us in a situation where we went from a possibility of churning the customer by up to 50% down to 0% churn. And then we also got a little bit of increasing monthly revenue that was recurring. So it's a good win for us, you know, to go from almost a 50% loss of a huge dollar value account to keeping them and making them very happy.
That's an amazing outcome, amazing, huge impact. And I assume it also helps like establish new procedures as well for future customers.
Yeah.
Sonam, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, of course. So this year at Gong, we are on a big company transformation. We have officially become a multi-product company. We launched our forecast product, we launched our engage product, and are planning to launch multiple more products in the next coming years. And so becoming like a true multi-product company, we had to really examine a lot of what like our operational foundation looks like in order to support this scaled growth and this increase in complexity of how we serve our customers. And so my story was really threefold. So how do we drive increased adoption of our most strategic features and our newest features? How do we increase expansion within our existing customers? And how do we mitigate churn and downgrade, which I think, given this economy this year, we've all kind of been experiencing that uptick. And so specifically with my story, I talk a bit about, creating a new health score model to really kind of mitigate churn and risk, along with all these foundational risk and health dashboards that we launched to our customer success leaders, as well as a new CSQL, customer success qualified lead program that we launched this year that has generated over 4 million in expansion ARR just from CSQLs, which has been really great for the CSM org to just quantify the impact they have on expansion. As well as, really kind of up-leveling this operational foundation to support our future growth and becoming, this true multi-product company.
That's amazing. It's also amazing that you didn't hear a lot about CSQL before 2023, but you guys already generating revenue from it and you know how to measure it, which is like so 2024. Raman, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. So my story revolves more about a new feature adoption that our organization was trying to see or make into a revenue stream for our company. So that entire thing was wherein, the customers would be accepting this feature or not. So in that perspective, we had to, lay this feature out to our existing customers, firstly create a cohort of those customers and understand what kind of, feedback are we receiving from those customers, which should be honest and brutal, so that we could kind of, build that product. We could build that feature into a finished product that could be offered in the market. The second part towards that was ensuring that how that feature is closely aligned with the value delivery ecosystem of my customers. Because at the end of the day, if you really want a feature or a product to be adopted, it has to be closely aligned with the goals of the customer or the organization which is using your product or a service. So from that perspective, we had created a product adoption league wherein we did cross collaboration between customer success team and the product teams, and ensured that these guys had this cohort of 25 distinct organizations, which were a combination of enterprise, mid-market, and SMBs, just to understand what is their purview about this new feature, how are they gaining from this feature, And from the feedback that we regularly get from them, how do we inculcate with the product team so that they can build this feature into a finished product? So that is how the story unfolds, and we were able to essentially grab just from a 25% target of feature adoption to 70% feature adoption, which really helped us ship this product faster and create this revenue stream. And while Sonam did excellently mention about CSQL, we were also focusing on a new word, that's CSQA, customer success qualified advocacy, wherein we were trying to get more referrals, we were trying to get more testimonials on the finished product from our customers. So that's about my story here.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for all of you for sharing that. I know it's hard to tell such big projects, such huge stories in a nutshell. It's very challenging. So basically, I assume that everyone noticed the stories are very different in tactics or in need, but basically all of them had one very big thing in common. It's driving action for growth, for scaling, whether it's internal actions or external driving your customer actions. So we would love to dive in a little deeper and learn which customer actions were you able to drive thanks to the creative initiative. Who wants to start? Anyone?
I can go. Yeah, so I think I'll focus in on expansion through our CSQL program. So with the launch of our new products this year, we really wanted to kind of create a mindset shift with CSMs to really have them focused on identifying these expansion opportunities with accounts that were really kind of like interested in these new products and really had a good use case to start using these products along with just the core kind of Gong platform. And so as part of that, with our CSQL program, it's not just tracking and reporting on CSQLs, but it's also incentivizing the CSMs to find these CSQLs. So they actually get paid out on a specific percentage of the closed won ARR associated with the CSQLs that they source, which is a huge incentive and really creates that mindset shift to find those expansion opportunities. And so for us, it was really, changing the behavior of CSMs, which then drove them to, change those customer actions and really try to find and source those expansion opportunities, ask the right discovery questions. Our enablement team is awesome. They had all these enablement sessions with CSMs on how to ask the right questions, do the right discovery to identify use cases for these new products. And then on the operations side, we built a whole workflow and a whole form for them to submit a CSQL, identify like the level of interest the customer has, what the use case is, how many seats they're interested in, and then that lead we get passed on to the sales rep. So I guess the kind of highlight of the story is less about like influencing customer actions directly. I think it's more like if you kind of shift the behavior of your CSMs, they can then kind of do the right discovery with customers to ultimately lead to them purchasing and cross-selling our new products.
Definitely. It's like internal education to be able to drive the customers to do more.
Yeah.
Amazing. I assume like the next question we wanted to ask is, what are the main challenges in driving customer actions? But I assume that this is like educating your team or changing processes for that, like was one of your biggest challenges.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's a couple of things. One is there's definitely change management challenges with this. What's in it for me? I think we were really fortunate to have the budget to pay CSMs out on these CSQLs. And so that became a very clear incentive. I don't think if we had not been able to do that, I don't think it would have been as successful. So that monetary incentive was pretty strong. The other challenge, I think, is just with like today's macroeconomic climate, companies are cutting their tech stack budgets. And so for us at Gong specifically, we're launching these new products and, incentivizing CSMs to talk to customers about these new products, but they're getting hit with like budget challenges and a lot of like very valid pushback from customers. And so how do we equip them with the right talk tracks, with the right coaching, the right way to kind of like manage those situations, which is obviously really challenging because a lot of that is out of their control.
Definitely. It was definitely a challenging year, but everything that was successful this year going to be much more successful next year. And so I kind of loved that we took these two questions together. Emily, if you can like also specify what was the customer actions you're able to drive thanks to your creative initiative, but what was the main challenges in driving those customer actions, it would be great.
I think just to provide some context, Eddie, the big thing for me was that this client was net new to me. A person that had been managing the account had left. We have playbooks that we've created previously, and people reference them and don't reference them in varying choices, right? For me, it was very much taking a 10,000 foot level view of the customer, and instead of throwing the entire playbook at them, just really sitting down with them and saying, hey, what's going on? How do we get here? Because I don't have that context, and I need to help you. And so ultimately, really, I partnered with the customer to help to kind of co-create how they wanted to see things changing, I guess, going forward. And I think the big thing from their perspective was they didn't feel heard. They felt like we were always selling to them, and just didn't feel valued in the whole process. And granted, they're a very valued customer of ours, as is everybody, but people remember how you make them feel, and our customers are humans at their core. And that is something that I always lead with, is just, you're a human. How can I help you? How can I make you feel better? I'm going to tell you what my challenges are and where where I will run into bumps in the road and what that's going to look like, right? So communicate. But I think the big thing is that with the customer, they were open to co-creating their destiny. And I didn't tell them that I wanted their business. I was going to win it back. What I said was, how can we make it better? How can we make your experience here better? How can we drive more value? And how can we do all the things? And so we ultimately created a checklist together about all the things that I had to do. I had to involve product. I had to take a minute and ask sales to just stay on the side. Let's not sell anything. Let's talk about, where we are today, what we're leveraging, what we're not leveraging, where the opportunity is. Really develop a kind of a success plan to repair the customer relationship, and ultimately, create our success plan to action and ultimately retention, which was my thought process. A big thing was it not forced, but I lead with partnership no matter what. But it really forced sales and sales leadership to stand down and listen and really engage and acknowledge that the customer success has influence. Even with a net new resource on that account, that CSM had way more impact and value on that customer, not only getting us from a potential 50% churn to a 0% churn with G and MER, but also, to Raman's point and to Sonam's point, like, we ended up realizing beyond that, we got our multiple SQLs from the customer. We also have, I think, Raman, you said SQAs is what we call it. So the client is now doing internal references with our sales team and talking to them about what it means to be a valued customer, as well as talking to other customers on our behalf about their experiences with us. And it's all entirely positive. So to go from this very negative sentiment, just general negative sentiment, to like this overwhelming positivity and success around the company, their experience, their value, that really was impactful. And it involved conversations with not just my leadership and customer success, but with sales leadership and with product leadership and marketing leadership as well, across the board, to understand that, sometimes everybody needs to take a step back instead of amassing themselves on the client when things don't go well. So I just feel very lucky that it all worked out. I mean, I created a playbook for this one. I'll apply it to the next one, but it's going to look completely different, right? Those are just the guardrails that we put on our clients, because no two clients are the same. Our snowflakes.
That's what's important in that playbook. Like, I loved what you said in the beginning about the co-creating.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have a playbook, but it needs to be adjustable to every client every time. Just the guidelines of ideas of how we need to approach the situation.
And I think, co-creation can be a double-edged sword. Number one, the client can feel like they're doing the work, right? I don't want them to do the work because they never want homework. I want to come in, I want to deliver what I think could be a solution, but also ask them for their feedback and ask them for very, very raw feedback. I don't like, nothing is off limits with a customer, because ultimately when you start from a place of not knowing and having no information, and the customer co-creates with you their destiny within, the utilization of our product, then they're bought in. They're 100% sold in. And I remember specifically one comment the customer made when we had our first sales conversation with them. We had a QBR internally, all salespeople, sales leadership, and they said, we're not buying right now. This was beyond our renewal. We're not buying right now, but when the money is there, we're going to buy it from you. And so that was a resounding just acknowledgement of where we had gone and where we got to. And all of this happened within 6 months. So it was a pretty speedy timeline, I guess, for like a larger organization, because we move sometimes a bit slow, but from the customer's perspective, pretty fast. And also we had revenue goals to recognize. And so I think we were really, really happy with that.
Definitely, I think it really shows the understanding that we had during 2023 about the importance of customer success in the company growth and revenue, not just the sales teams that comes just for the end of the year renewals.
Yeah, and the President's Club.
Exactly. Raman, I'm gonna just go remind you the question, because we had a little chit chat here. So I would be very much interested to know which customer actions you were able to drive, and what were the most challenging ones.
Sure. Cool. So in our case, as I mentioned, this was more on the new feature adoption that we wanted to, build as a full and finished product. And we wanted to ensure from the beginning that this feature is not just good to have feature, it's a must have from a product perspective. Now, when you are looking at that, you have to ensure that it fits really well into the ecosystem of the customers' goals and objectives that they have planned for the entire year. Now, which brings me to the first action, which was, more of value delivery, wherein we, in this quarter, we wanted to create goals with the customer that would be achieved using this feature itself. And then every week, while they're using this feature on that live dashboard, we try to, capture how much time is it taking to achieve the same goal or the same level of goal week on week. Is it reducing? Which brings me to that KPI of time to value and customer effort score. The customer effort score basically is, the amount of time which they are putting in with us, the time which they are investing with us at this point of time on those set goals. How much are we able to reduce them so that the goal volume could be increased and they can achieve more in lesser stipulated time. And we were able to quantify that and showcase it to them. That was one aspect of it, which the other thing which is related to it was increasing adoption rate of this feature. Because when the customer is aligned with the goal achievement that they're looking at on week basis, and it's really showing them positive results. In some cases it wasn't, then we were able to look at the problems that, have came due to which they were not able to achieve. But in some which were going successfully, we were able to, build, targets, KPIs on that front. But from the other perspective, we were also able to involve the decision makers from the customer side to see value in this new feature. Because when the seniors, the decision makers, the superiors from a customer's end get involved in such kind of programs, then you have to, A, showcase value. The second is that you also know that something critical is happening, which customers, higher ups are taking into account, which could be a good thing for you guys. Now, if everyone is involved from our side, the other thing was to ensure that, we are showcasing them progress week on week, which, for us, we had to build a dashboard which the customer could see on a regular basis. It was a real-time dashboard which the customer could see on themselves how it is, showing value to them. So that was critical for us. Now, coming to the part on the long-term effect, the long-term implication that we were looking at was definitely expansion revenue. Because when we are creating a product in alignment with the product team, we really want revenue to be flowing in from our existing customers, because those are the people on whom we have, created a cohort and tested it out. So from that perspective, expansion revenue was also one of the customer, action that we were trying to advocate. And the last part was definitely the customer advocacy piece that I was talking about, wherein they could, refer the product to another customers, or get more and more departments to start using it, so that we could be deeply integrated into the systems of the customer and they can use the product easily. Now, the challenges that we were facing in the beginning was getting the buy-in of the customer, because at the end of the day, if it's something is a beta program, the customer may not pay a critical or a serious, eye to detail on that particular thing, because they might perceive that it might be good for the vendor to capture feedback, but what is in it for me at the end of the day if I'm investing my time in it? Because he's not sitting there to help us. He also has his own goals. He also has his own KPIs to capture. And that's where, we came up, as Emily pointed it out really well, we came up with tailored approach of not just showcasing them a feature that we have, but showcasing them a story wherein we are just showcasing them a missing puzzle that if it fits into the ecosystem, it's going to boost up their, goal achievement. So that was one thing that we faced, but, using our tailored approach, using, the approach wherein we are aligned with their goals, their objectives, it helped the customer to hear us seriously. A. B was because we were talking a lot about time management, wherein we knew we were respectful of the time that they would be putting into this program. So what is in it for us, for them? So we were trying to equate time with ROI. That you invest this much time with us, this is the level of ROI you can expect. So we were quantifying the value for them. So that kind of helped us overcome this particular, problem. The other thing was getting the brutal feedback, the honest, brutal feedback, which would only come when the customer is using it regularly. And for that, we had, as I mentioned, we had created, the scoreboards or the dashboards, the real-time dashboards, wherein whenever a customer is doing something on that feature, he's getting the output right there. He's understanding what kind of things are happening, due to which he can make amendments. He can stick to what he's doing. And basis that, he can take decisions of improving the usage of the feature that would, make him stick to the product feature and share feedback with us. Hey, for example, he's trying to do something in terms of running a campaign, but they are not, engaged, the end customers are not engaging with him, which means there might be a problem with the copy, there might be a problem with some text or even service. Now that feedback is critical for us, that where is it really not working for the customer. So that was something that started coming in after looking at those dashboards, looking at those regular error reports. The third was definitely regular communication that we had to take care of. Because at the end of the day, if you are not communicating regularly with the customer, and even the feedback that is being shared with from the customer's side, if it is not being actioned upon, if it is not being looked from a perspective of giving them a progress update, that hey, you gave us these three feedback pointers which were really critical for us. Today, as of today, we have done these things to ensure that we overcome those three limitations for you guys. So ensuring that you are respecting the time of the customer while they give you feedback, you share the progress with them regularly via communication, was also essential, so that they are engaged with us. They become a part of our team in terms of giving us feedback, so that we can create this finished product. So these were some 3-4 critical pointers that were hard for us at the beginning, but with the methods that I just talked about, really helped us overcome that, and this program became a success.
That's amazing. I'm actually curious about like the real-time dashboard. It was the first time you utilized a thing like that to be able to communicate better with the customers, to give him eyes into the product?
Yeah, that was the first time, because earlier, what the way our product functions, it did take some time to kind of share the progress. And in terms of new feature adoptions, this was never adopted. Earlier, the new feature adoption was more of a vanilla offering, wherein the customer would be called upon, said that, hey, you are a part of this program, this is a feature, please test it out, let us know your feedback. This time we went with a game plan, wherein we firstly prepared our teams before we reached out to that cohort of customers, so that when we go to them, we tell them the story, we tell them after using it, where are they going to see the real-time updates, so that they would be a part of the game and stay invested with seriousness, the way we are going to be invested in the program. So yes, the real-time dashboards and reporting really helped us improve the adoption rates.
Amazing. I'm going to take a question now because I feel bad it's from the beginning. I feel like I'm hanging them dry. So basically, I don't know if everyone sees the QA, so I'm going to type that also in the chat. Anyone wants to take that first? Like, why are customer success teams so diverse? With some responsibilities for renewals while others are not, and what is the best approach? Like, I assume I know what you guys gonna say, but maybe Sonam, you can start. You have something to say?
I can start. Yeah, I don't have a right or wrong answer. I would say it depends. I think all of us are going to say. Here at Gong, I mean, I've been at Gong for over 4 years, and I've seen when I first joined Gong, we had a really lean CSM team. The CSMs were responsible for everything. We didn't have any other functions outside of CS and support in the post-sales organization. It was really just like super lean, super scrappy, very small company. And so CSMs did everything from onboarding through adoption, through renewal, expansion. They wore like all the hats. And what I've seen as we've grown out the post-sales team, we've added specialized functions. We now have a services team. We have a bigger support team with more specialized roles. We have an education team, community, solution strategy, and we've grown out the sales team as well. We have a function called customer account executives, and they work specifically with customer accounts, and they run renewals and expansions for certain segments. So I think it's just really iterative, like every year as you're going through planning for the next fiscal year, just see what worked well, what didn't, where it makes sense to not have CSMs run renewals, which segments it does make sense. For us, our CSMs run renewals for our SMB segment. But we started to see with our scale segment specifically, which is part of SMB, that CSMs running renewals, it was taking up all of their time. They basically were just like only running renewals because our renewals process is still a bit manual. We haven't been able to like fully 100% automate our renewals process for that segment. And so we actually created a renewals management team just for that segment because we were able to quantify, like, here's how much time CSMs are spending on renewals. We actually really need them to spend more time on onboarding and adoption. And that's taking away from these like strategic initiatives that our leaders want them to work on because they're spending like this many hours per week on renewals. So a lot of that is just like, you know, seeing what's important for the CSMs to focus on as your customer journey evolves, as your company priorities change. And then if you need a separate renewals team, figuring out the business case for that, or if it makes sense for CSMs to own renewals, like really understanding the why of like, why is that working well? Why is that important? And knowing that, you know, that could change in the coming years, depending on how the priorities change.
Definitely. And also I assume like how the company works, like whatever going to generate more value to the customers and more value to the company, this is the team that should own any activity. I have a lot of questions here now, so maybe we'll take one more. Let's see. So what are the ways through which CS organization can quantify the impact they are making for their organization to showcase it to the senior leadership, including C-level folks and the board? There is anyone who wants to take that? Who has a specific, you can see the questions, right, Emily? Yeah, okay.
Yep. Don't have my glasses on. Oh my gosh, I can take this one. I think it's really nuanced, right? I think it depends on kind of so I'm like, you nailed it. It depends. It always depends. So I think, you know, you have to document everything. You have to, no matter how small or big you are, you have to always document everything. You have to, something I always exercise, no matter in a leadership role or an enterprise, an IC role, is time and motion, right? So like, what kind of time, motion, impact. So what kind of time did I spend on doing this before we changed the process? What did the process look like? You know, could we assign a dollar value to it? And so when it changes and we've gone through steps and we've documented those steps, that we are always able to kind of quantify either, you know, savings to the business, be it in time or dollars, or clicks. You know, I'm in digital transformation. It's all about clicks, right? I think ultimately, it's so hard to, everything is hard to quantify and everything is easy to quantify, and it depends on the tools that you have access to, right? So like I come from a larger organization, and we have a tool for everything. But if you're starting bare bones, you're, at the beginning of your journey, you only have 5 CSMs, 1 leader in CS, then it's down to documentation. One of the things that I learned very, very quickly is that always have a slide that dictates the high level, impact of every initiative that you have. And I think it was HubSpot. Maybe 5 years ago, I was running a team remotely, and I was trying to figure out how we could build up a knowledge base, right? Just a scrappy old knowledge base and a process operationalized Bible to track everything that we were doing, how we were doing it today, how we iterated on it going forward, and where all the savings were. Was it time? Was it money? Was it clicks? Right? And we just started to build on that, and it became this knowledge base internally, and ultimately it became like this guide for us that when we would go to leadership to make a change or to say we have saved money, we have 5 CSMs, we now need 10 CSMs because the workload has 3x'd itself or 2x'd itself. This is how much I think it's going to cost. This is how many customers we have acquired during the time. This is why I believe we can afford to recruit X number of CSMs. Not only that, we also need to reorg our CSM structure and approach and how we scale to the business. It's all truly, I think it's about, documenting, tracking, time, motion, impact. Like you have to just keep track of everything. And I think sometimes we're not great at doing that. You need to keep your checklist that you can refer back to easily at the end of every week, every month, every quarter, so that there's quantifiable things that can be delivered back to leadership. I mean, in a larger organization like DocuSign, we have all those tools. A lot of that is built into Gainsight. It's all been built into Salesforce. We can just pull data as we need. It's not difficult, but smaller organizations, it's far more difficult. And you have to also tell a really good story. So you can have all that data, and then you have to deliver it in a really succinct way, in an impactful way, and be passionate about the story that you're telling. Because I think people love a good story. And if it's data driven, you can get whatever you want.
Exactly. Sometimes you really need to choose the story and then choose the data you want to show, and not show everything all the time because it's overwhelming.
Exactly. And leaders don't have that much time. So give them the high level and that's it.
Exactly.
And be excited about the story, because if there's something in the data, you can convert that over and you can get what you need from the business.
Exactly. And I also love that you said, like, sometimes because of the workload, because we are so busy, because we have so much to do, we let go of those lists or remembering things and just move forward very fast. And then we don't really have a way to convey the value or what we did in the last queue.
Exactly. And we diminish those smaller activities that over time add up to really impactful strategy.
Exactly. True. Okay, so we're really getting close to the end of the webinar. But I do want to take one more questions, maybe just like looking at the future a little bit, or just to dive into your guys' heads and hear what you plan for 2024. So as we move forward to Q1, I know that you have the holidays now and like there is still time to think about that, but I feel like especially in 2023, everyone started to plan very early. So for you, what's the next phase in terms of driving customer actions? What metrics or KPIs are you looking to improve as we look forward to next year? So Sonam, can you start?
Yeah, so this year we really kind of built that foundation for our, multi-product growth and supporting the increased complexity of what our customer journey looks like now. So next year, it's really about just continuing to invest in a few key areas. So on the ops side, we're hoping to launch our revamped health score model next year. Our health score model, that's another thing that has just been super iterative. We've had like 3 different versions at this point. And this one is like really going back to basics, really helping CSMs mitigate risk and drive adoption and focus on value. And we're hoping to make it very actionable and easy to understand for CSMs. I think we veered too much in the other direction earlier on making it like this super predictive, complex, like churn model. And then they were like, what do we do with this? And so we want it to be very easy to understand, actionable. Here's risk flags, here's what to do. So that's one thing is investing in our health score model. Another thing is, continuing to articulate the ARR impact of the CSM. So continuing to invest in that CSQL program, other ways to drive expansion. We're going to be launching more new products in the coming years. And so laying that foundation of how do we track the impact of the CSM org on expansion, but also operationalize ways to just increase expansion and drive that cross-sell of our customers buying our new products. And lastly, we're really focused on value. And I think the value that you deliver to customers can be really like nebulous to quantify. And so for us, we really want to get really standardized and prescriptive on our success planning. And then also as a company, we're shifting to be less like product feature focused and more outcomes focused, just in our messaging, our playbooks, our talk tracks, the way we measure the outcomes we're delivering for customers in our success plans. And so that like mindset shift to being more outcomes focused is something that's going to be new for us next year.
That's amazing, because outcomes are basically the main way to quantify value, like the only way to quantify the value. That's super interesting, and I'm feeling like the mid 2024 webinar we need to do to see how things started like in 2024. It would be amazing. Raman.
Sure. So in our case, I guess the very first thing is, working more on cross-collaborative projects, like, collaborating with the product team, because we saw this particular program and it was a huge success. So similarly, we would want to, collaborate more with marketing, sales, product, even dev or solutioning for that perspective, and see, how CS can work as a 360 function, because we do hear this a lot. CS is a 360 function, we have to collaborate with a lot. But then at the end of the day, how do we quantify that and, showcase it to the leadership, as well as how do we inculcate that as an organization and as a culture for ourselves? So that was one key thing that we're going to focus on. Second, definitely is going to be value delivery, as Sonam also focused upon. That value delivery is critically important, considering that more and more product lines are going to be added in the near future. How does that really align with the customer's goals and customer's objectives? And how do we ensure that the reporting is in place so that they can understand the value and the time invested by the customer from their side? So that would be the second critical thing. The third would be automating a lot of manual aspects in the customer success, may it be the onboarding, may it be, other tech touch customers, may be even reporting from that perspective, trying to see that, automating manual processes, how much time are we able to save it, and then equating it directly with revenue. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about, bandwidth management of CSMs, we really, forget about talking about the manual processes that they have to go for in terms of, either adding data on certain Excel sheets or, doing forecasting, sales forecasting, or the revenue forecasting that they need to do from a CSM perspective. So kind of automating that in a tool, and then trying to focus more towards, delivering value instead of, capturing data and showcasing it. That would be a critical aspect for us. And fourth would be definitely, having a strong correlation between increased customer lifetime value and the customer acquisition cost, because I have heard this a lot, read it a lot, that increasing customer lifetime value really helps reduce the customer acquisition cost. But we haven't practically seen it, or I have practically didn't see it. So that is one of the objectives that we're going to take up for this one, that if we are having 20, 30 customers with the increased customer lifetime value, or how much revenue is going to be added from there, how much acquisition costs are we going to reduce for the organization from a macro perspective, not from just a customer, from not just from a CSM standpoint. That is one. And the last thing is more of a trait that I would be inculcating in 2024 is the risk-taking ability. As a CSM, when we're talking about being innovative, being creative, I guess that risk-taking ability has to be there, wherein you try to take calculated risks, which is supported by data and not just heuristic or intentional analysis. But if you are able to do that, that definitely helps you, be more proactive to take, innovative decisions, creative decisions to overcome some critical problems, which could be helpful for the organizations in the long run and make you a great leader at the end of the day as well. So these are 5 things that we would be focusing definitely in 2024.
Amazing, and I'm definitely going to follow up on that as well.
so much.
Sure.
Emily.
I think I'll keep it quick. I'm going to go kind of like high level, low level. High level, I think from our perspective, really gain-side adoption is a huge, huge, huge component of what we're going to do in 2024 from a DocuSign
We
perspective.
actually have a question about that. You saw that?
Oh, how do you get? I've rolled out gain-side at multiple organizations, so this one always comes up. It's tricky. I'm going to say off the top, adoption with gain-side really is, in my experience, it falls down leaders, managers, ICs. You've got to put away the note-taking apps and you've got to move it into gain-side. You've got to start your calls with gain-side open. I'm just going to say that off the top. When it comes to like the CTA element of it, I mean, back to that one thing I will add. As a manager, I used to conduct all of my meetings in gain-side. We would do our checks off the top, and just my team knew that was how we were going to do our meetings. So they started to kind of change behaviors that way. But again, it's change management. Some people will just never adopt to it, right? And others will. And some people will in varying degrees. And so it's one of those age-old kind of challenges with a net new technology. Gamification is always a good thing. So we love a little bit of gamification. Sometimes it has to happen outside of the application. We love it when they build it in, right? And there's some element of that in gain-side as well. From a CTA perspective, this is something that we definitely we are challenged with at DocuSign too. We're constantly relearning our customers. Our customers are constantly changing. Like quarter over quarter, their activities, their buying cycles are different. We're a multi-product company. Depending on the product, they're different. It's really hard to align on it. I think in my experience, where I've saw be really, really successful is cross-functional teams, gain-side teams, kind of a governance team where there's multiple people involved that are giving feedback on what's working, what's not working, not just people that are going to come in as we roll out and implement that new solution, but like people that are there involved, engaged, interested all the time, and are taking the pulse of our customers as we engage with them based off of how those CTAs are constructed. I'm going to say it's tricky. I think there's not a company out there that doesn't struggle with gain-side, and gain-side is a phenomenal tool. Phenomenal, and I love it. But with the customers constantly changing, with human nature elements, you're always going to have that struggle, We live in hope, though. My favorite feature of gain-side at the moment is the customer success planning element. And that's one area, kind of bringing back to the original point, is that we're going to focus very, very heavily on that in 2024. And so we have account plans for sales, we have account plans, demand plans, and then we have customer success plans. And that's really going to be a core component. We are certifying all of our CSMs on, I can't even say it, customer success planning for growth. And then, the really key emphasis on value, and not just what we perceive to be value as an organization, but what is our perceived value from the customer perspective? And again, it depends. So really, how do we quantify that? And then how do we understand that better? And then make our edits to our customer journey to just be more approachable and not us looking at it through a one-size-fits-all lens. But I think from a personal perspective, I'm working on a Spotify Wrapped version of an overview for all of the clients that I work with to kind of give them some key insights on how the things we did and how we worked together and how much time we spent together has impacted their utilization of our products overall through the year. So that's just me.
That's amazing. Super interested. I just want to see if we have in 2 minutes to squeeze. We didn't talk about any enterprise accounts here today, so I'm not sure any one of you were focused this in your stories about that, but we have one question. I don't want to leave it alone. So as this is an Everafter webinar, and I always felt this tool can help you scale, can you please share your experience on trying to scale enterprise approach? So anyone has any tip, 1 minute tip on scaling enterprise? It's so hard to do it in 1 minute. I actually opened now a question, which is a full webinar on its own, scaling enterprise. Anyone has anything you want to say about that?
Sure, I can take that up. So when you talk about scaling enterprise accounts or customers, right, it starts with initial, what we have been talking about since the start of the webinar, is the value delivery. And within a robust account plan that you have been building or creating for your enterprise customers. It has to have a very structured timeline towards the achievement of the goals that you set, and also a structured way of showcasing your suite of products that fit into their ecosystem and help them achieve goals. And when we're talking enterprises, they are not just another customer, but there are multiple customers sitting inside in an enterprise account. How are you actually identifying them? And that can be done by multiple skill sets of a CSM, by being curious, asking questions, trying to build relations within their ecosystem, talking to the people, identifying that need of your own product or the suite of products that you have to offer, showcasing them, demonstrating them, which is in alignment with their organizational goals. And that's where you start building that rep up, and that's where you are scaling your product definition into that customer's per se ecosystem. And that's how you scale an enterprise customer, with just starting with one piece of function and a customer, and then scaling up to the entire organization with the entire suite of products that you have to offer.
Interesting. Thank you for giving us a little bit insights about enterprise accounts. So actually, this webinar is been longer than we expected, but it was super interesting, and we had amazing stories here. So we needed to dive deeper and deeper into those webinars. It's amazing to hear the tactics and strategies. Actually, we have a question of what's the name of the tool. I assume it was for Emily. And who was talking about tools lately? Not remembering who should take that question. Emily, did you mention any tool?
I'm forgetting.
That's about Gainsight.
What was it? Was it
Gainsight, right?
Gainsight? Yeah. I mean, that was the key one, my favorite. Gong's a close tie, though. Sonam,
I have to say that we are also a huge fan of Gong. Me in person, because I love the brand and the story, but also the tool. It's addictive.
Yeah, I agree, and really effective in a tool for managing teams.
True, very true, and to also learn about yourself a lot.
Oh yes.
Okay, so it was great to have you all. In case anyone from the audience has any other question, I truly recommend you follow any one of the panelists on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you can ask them directly. They love to share and learn and share insights. And if you have any questions for us, we are here, and I will try to deliver as much answers or whatever left open after the webinar in the email with the recording we're gonna share. Yes, Emily, thank you. Okay, so we answered that. And that's that, guys. Thank you so much, guys and ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time from your busy schedule, and I truly hope you're gonna enjoy the last 2 weeks of 2023.
And you, appreciate you for putting this together, Eddie.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for attending.
Take care. Good to meet you all.
Bye.
In touch. Bye.
Bye.